Oh, howdy all, grab yourself a drink. It is time for some Path of Exile 1 discussion. Today, I wanted to talk about the Genesis tree, and specifically, I want to talk about crafting Righteous Fire jewels. Both misses, like this one here, mid-tier ones, like this one here, and also some that I've sold that have been far better than what you're seeing here. You'll also get a few things that are just complete misses, like this one. 6% damage taken recouped as life is pretty good as a fractured mod, but overall, this just isn't that great a package. But 8% fire dot multi fractured onto the item. This is one of those cases where we didn't get exactly what we wanted. We didn't get a made item, but this is definitely a strong starting point for further crafting. I've also had 2% maximum fire resistance as a fractured mod, and every time I've got that, it's sold for more than a divine. And then of course you get some complete misses as well. This is not a deterministic craft, but it's one that you can definitely try over and over again because it is very cheap, especially with some of the efficiency upgrades we're going to talk about. So, how does all of this work? The first thing we need is increased jewels chance. This has the text Provisioning Wombgifts may instead birth jewels. This is just giving permission, but jewels are pretty rare. Generally speaking, when you're playing the game, you get something like 200 weapons and 200 armor pieces for every one jewel it drops. We want to try and rig those odds in our favor. Firstly, we do that by getting 5,000% increased chance to get jewels. That's not enough though. At this point, we're looking 200 chances to get a weapon, 200 chances to get armor, and only 51 to get a jewel. What we're going to do is take advantage of the fact that every other item in the game, pretty much except for jewels, and unfortunately except for quivers and jewelry, pretty much everything else has an attribute requirement. So, less intelligence items. We are going to aggressively nerf the chance for birthing equipment that has an intelligence requirement. But we're doing the same thing for strength and for dexterity. This combination reduces the chance by 85% of getting a single attribute base and by 97.75% of getting a dual attribute base. About half of the items that drop are dual attribute. And so overall, this is something like a 91% nerf to the chances of getting a weapon, chances of getting armor, and so on and so forth. After this, let's talk about everything else we've selected, starting with the things that are more obvious. We're crafting for Righteous Fire. So, Righteous Fire builds, they tend to value life on their items. So, birthed equipment has 1,000% increased chance per life modifiers. This is something we want. Additionally, birthed equipment has 1,000% increased chance for fire modifiers, rigs the odds in our favor somewhat. After this, we would have the option of increasing critical modifiers, attack modifiers, caster modifiers, or speed modifiers. It is my understanding that none of these are beneficial, and as a result, even though we definitely want the point that leads in here, we are not taking Devoted Zeal at all. I have the points for it, I am simply electing not to use it. And that's why I have two nodes that are completely useless that I'm still taking. Arterial Mesh, this does absolutely nothing. Basic Nurturing, this does absolutely nothing. These points cannot be transferred anywhere else because every other option we could allocate is either outright detrimental, for example, making it so that many more items become weapons, or alternately, is slightly detrimental like severing. We don't want any of these nodes, so we're not taking them, even though we have the points. Now in the top area, we are going to nerf the chances for defense modifiers, for attack modifiers, and for lightning modifiers. It is entirely possible that I haven't quite crafted the perfect set here. It might be that you can find something slightly better, but what we've got here definitely works well. After that, skip Arterial Mesh, it does nothing, but Solid Cysts is really important. This gives us two ways to win. The first way is that it's not fractured, but it's a made item. It's already a cohesive whole, and it's something that's ready to be equipped already onto a Righteous Fire build. The second way that we can win is by getting something that's a fractured item that is not a made item. This item is perfectly usable, but it would be better if the mana regeneration rate was gone. Ultimately, this item would probably be better if someone just used it as a crafting base and rolled other mods on it. So this is the second way you can potentially win. The best hit you can get here is 2% maximum fire resistance, and if you wanted to target that mod specifically, you would actually change life modifier to resistance modifier, but most of the time, it is better, I think, to go with life modifier here. So that's the core theory. Why is it then that I have a whole bunch of low-level Wombgifts? Well, low-level Wombgifts consume less Graftblood, but at the same time, they pretty much give the same rewards as the level 83 and 84 ones. The 83 and 84 ones will have a higher item level. That doesn't actually achieve anything for us in this particular craft. So I've gone and originally I started target farming these, then I got bored of it and I went and just traded for them instead. You'll notice here that a level 73 one only requires 590 Graftblood, whereas if I recall correctly, a level 83 one requires 1,377, so double and a third to get the same basic outcomes. Now, let's talk about the bug. When I elect to use this Provisioning Wombgift, I'm going to control click it. It may or may not work. Notice it did not work here. There's no sound effect, but also I have not consumed any Graftblood either. Okay, that was really strange. I went and I did a test run with it, and it actually unallocated a point. That wasn't what I was intending to do. But let's just try that again. I'm going to try and use this Provisioning Wombgift. It may or may not work. Quite often it will just fail without any feedback. Nope, that one worked. Okay, so we've got 20% increased burning damage. It's actually got another good mod with it as well. This isn't really quite a made item, but it's something that's at least serviceable. I'm going to pick it up. I don't think this will sell in this league. In previous leagues, someone might have bought that just for the 20% burning damage fracture, but there's so many of those going around that I don't think it's particularly worth all that much. Anyway, we spent very little on the attempt, so let's try again. This time we ended up having a failure. This is not anything consumed, just the Wombgift didn't take. I don't know what's going on there. There is some sort of bug, especially with lower tier ones. You often need to do them many times. That happens, I just try something else. 16% increased fire damage, 7% maximum life, and double fire resistance there. That's not quite a made item. It's reasonably good. You definitely use it as a starter Righteous Fire Jewel, and it might actually solve a problem on some unusual build, but it's not one that I think is fantastic. It's just one that is somewhat serviceable. We're going to keep trying because that one won't sell in this league. This time we unfortunately got a ring, and I don't know why that is even showing up on my filter. Maybe because it has high tier recoup, high tier life, and high tier fire damage on it. We also had another one that didn't show up here, and this is not a made item. It's just fire.multi with nothing else. You'll get a bunch of those that don't quite work. Anyways, at this point, let's just go and dump all of my current goo that I've got, making as many of these as we can. We will find that sometimes it doesn't quite work. We're just going to we'll also have to try again and again. I'm control clicking. You can also do it another way where you click it once and then you go and consume the Graftblood there. And we're then going to have a look and see what's coming up. Those have been 2 fails, and we're having a lot more trouble getting it because of that bug causing things not to work. 19% increased burning damage, 8% fire.multi, 2% MRE. This is a made item. This one is useful already, because someone is going to want it because of that MRE on it, not because of the fracture, but because it's just got that good combo of stats on it. That might just solve a problem for someone. That could definitely sell. And this one here is pretty mid. Ignite duration / ignite chance does sometimes solve problems, but the rest of the item isn't very good. And we'll just make all the rest of them. That one there is a bit of a dud. This one here, 7% increased maximum life, a couple of other live mods, but it's just generic good stuff, which in this league, where there's so much better stuff going around, is probably not going to be of any interest to anyone. This one here is pretty mid, and this one here is essentially 3 mods with an unwanted totem mod. And having another look here, this one is middling. This one here is a complete failure. It's something that we didn't want at all. And this one is a failure. This one here is a failure. Another failure, and another pretty marginal hit. So that is an example of what you can expect. I got a bit lucky on this in the last 30 to 40 that I made, but I still feel like the amount of investment that I put into making this video was tiny. All I really spent was 10,000 Graftblood and 15 or so of those Wombgifts. Those Wombgifts are available for 2 Chaos at the time I'm recording this video. So I spent 30 Chaos plus a resource that you get for free while mapping. And we ended up with one jewel that would have been very expensive in previous leagues. In this league, it probably needs to actually have a serviceable 4th mod added through an Exalted Orb, and then potentially also a Corruption on top of that. That would make it into something truly sublime. But even as it is, it's definitely going to be an upgrade for some people. And then a bunch of stuff that varies from pretty forgettable to reasonably good to genuinely very good. I've had multiple 8% fire damage over time and multiplier fractures, and I've had a couple of 2% maximum fire res ones. Those have been more valuable, but ultimately, this is the sort of stuff you can expect. These are the sort of jewels that if you're playing in solo self-bound, they can really set you up well. And if you're playing in Trade League, well, I've probably just crashed the market on them, so it's not likely you're going to be able to sell any of them. but they were selling pretty well until I put this video out. That's all I got on this. May your provisioning Wombgifts have interesting results.